go. Hi, and welcome to the premiere of season 2 of the Tap into Health podcast. I'm your host, Liz Fisher, and I want to thank all of my listeners for their feedback up until this point. And because I've received so many questions about how tapping works, that's why I've decided to ask this very knowledgeable guest back for the first episode of season 2. In case you missed her on season 1, she is a master trainer of EFT, a holistic business expert, and best-selling author. She lives in Strongsville, Ohio, and shares an empty nest with George. She's the mother of 2 successful adults, a dog therapy mom, or a therapy dog mom, and has been tapping since 2001. She was also my EFT trainer and is my mentor and good friend. Please welcome Betsy Muller. Hi, Betsy. Thanks so much for being here with us today.
Thank you. And it is my pleasure to be back here because we can't ever get enough new information about EFT or get reinforced on what maybe you were told before, but you forgot, right?
Right. I agree. And people do have questions, especially when they're new to it. And, I love to be able to explain or have you explain to our listeners why this works and what exactly is going on. So that's kind of my first question. Tell us a little bit about how tapping works in our brain.
Yeah. So when I started tapping in 2001, nobody knew. We just knew we felt better. We're like, we got to tell our friends. But then people looked at us funny. So now we know from the science, lots of different studies. I think they say there's about 300 plus studies related to the effectiveness. What we know is tapping on these specific points interrupts the brain's stress response. It interrupts our stress. It sends a calming signal to our brain and our body. So a few things go on. It's chemical, lowers cortisol, the stress hormone. It's physical. That stress response in the amygdala, that center part of the brain. So say like somebody shouts something awful to you. Let's just use that example. And you hear this horrible thing being said to you that bothers you because maybe you've had a history with this person. So suddenly you have a stressful feeling. That's actually, you hear something, it goes right into your nervous system and it triggers the amygdala. So what happens when you begin to go into the stress? It overrides everything. Your body and your brain do something. And one of the first things that happens is your brain, this front part of your brain where we do all our thinking and problem solving, it says, oh, I'm sending some blood back to the rest of the body to help you run away or fight this other person. Okay.
So that's our fight, flight, or freeze. Would you call that? Yep.
Yeah. So we lose up to like half the blood supplies of the part of our brain that makes us human and smart. All right. So that's what happens at first. Now, when we tap on these points, we interrupt how the amygdala is responding. We use words with tapping too, which actually using the words reactivates this front part of the brain. And the blood flow resumes, comes back to the front of the brain. The body calms down. That cortisol comes in, goes down. So we can breathe more deeply. We kind of feel like we're more in our chair. We're more connected to the ground. Our other senses reawaken. And so we're more back to our reset, better person. Now, as we continue tapping and that blood flow is working and we're working with words, the best part of our brain starts saying, oh, it's not so bad. Oh, I have a solution to this problem. Oh, I know what to say to this person. Or oh, no, or, you come up with your own new version of what the reality is. Because usually the scary thing is not life-threatening. It's just annoying, right?
Right.
But then a lot of things are really, really upsetting, and they're in the past. As we pull up those thoughts and feelings from the past, it goes right into our amygdala again now, because we're activating old memories. Our blood flow to our brain gets interrupted, but we bring it back. with the tapping. It's really about presence. And when you do it with a practitioner to help you continue tapping, keep you focused, help you breathe, give you words, not just give you words, but repeat the words that the client says that are part of the problem, you start changing the way the brain has experienced an event or a feeling or a behavior. And that's how the brain changes. That's the neuroplasticity that we're able to also use as a benefit of EFT, a permanent change.
Mhm.
Right. Okay.
So we're in effect, when we're tapping, we're interrupting this kind of, I guess it would be the response that we have in our body that is
Mhm.
negative. Would that be how you would explain it?
Yeah, I say any uncomfortable response.
Mm-hmm.
And think about even pain. I
Yep.
mean, pain is an unpleasant response, which causes your mind, your thoughts, your brain to not operate at its optimal form, right?
Right.
Yeah. So we can even interrupt physical discomfort with tapping.
Yes. And when you mentioned working with a practitioner, and previously, just a minute or so ago, when you said that, why can you? I also get the question all the time, why do you have to be so specific? And why is it best to work with a practitioner when trying to be specific with these memories, these physical symptoms, past events, traumas? Why, can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think people new to EFT, I, I I mean, you come in with your own problem and you just want it to go away.
Mhm.
But I think people need to understand problems are very complex and there's lots of aspects. We call it aspects that contribute to that uncomfortable way of being. They can be thoughts and beliefs, they can be physical symptoms, they can be emotions, and they can be behaviors. And all of those different kinds of factors that go in around a problem. Being specific, I think the practitioner helps the client really think a little more deeply about something that's been painful. So oftentimes, if it's painful and upsetting, they avoid it. They
Mhm.
haven't really dug down into the roots of their problem. And so a practitioner is good at just being very curious, non-judgmental. Just, tell me about this and asking questions. And we don't talk too much in session, right, Liz? I mean, we do a lot of tapping without, well, we're doing our talking with the tapping, right?
Correct.
We're not, talking and talking and talking, although some people probably talk a lot. But we get little pieces of information that are specific to the problem. Usually ask if it was one thing, what's the worst thing about this? That
Mhm.
might be where you start with
Mhm.
that. And then we'll do a little tapping on that aspect, that worst part. And then as we finish that round or two of tapping, we'll ask, so how are you feeling about that now? Has it changed? Is there something new that came up? And so oftentimes it goes way down, but then a new thing pops up.
Right.
And that's why specific events, specific memories, specific topics have different, I guess they've got different flavors that color that memory, situation, experience. So a practitioner will help you find those roots and pull the weeds out by
Yeah.
the roots so that that permanent change can really happen. And sometimes we don't even know as practitioners whether we've gotten it all. And so that's why you come back the next session, you give a
You have to.
little homework, you come back. Did it really, has it changed? What are you noticing? And we try to test and provoke it as practitioners to see if we can get it to come back up without making anybody too uncomfortable. That's part of our job, being thorough. I think when people work by themselves, they're less likely to be thorough because they haven't had the insight that we get as practitioners of how to really stay curious. Also, it's about persistence.
Mhm.
I think, how long do you have to tap for a problem? there is not a solid answer to that.
Right. You can never tell that you can't give that answer to anyone. Like my clients who have hair pulling, how long is this going to take? That's like the first thing. How many sessions? Said everyone's different. I've seen people for hair pulling for 4 sessions and that's it. I've seen people for a year and we're still uncovering layers of their past that have to do with this
Right.
habit.
And, you know, we're trained, you and I, to be ethical. And so we're as honest as possible. It would be unethical to guarantee results, but we can guarantee, well, I guess we can say that we offer hope. Um, I usually suggest try 4 sessions. Sometimes people have really amazing results with the first session, but often it takes a little while to get going because the rapport with the practitioner is important. Sometimes they aren't even fully disclosing all the aspects when we're first working with them. So we need to get the ball rolling. They need to get comfortable with tapping. Ideally, they're doing tapping between sessions. And those kind of clients really do the best when they take the materials we've given them and start playing on their own between our sessions with them. Most of people I work with, because I work with a lot of business people and practitioners, 4 sessions is adequate to give them information that they can be on their own with self-care. And also one of their presenting issues, at least one of their presenting issues has really changed in a good way so that they're like excited about, doing their own work.
Right. And that was my next question. People ask me, how long does it take to see a change? And as a practitioner, I tell them, you know what, everyone is different, like we just said, but it takes about 4 sessions to notice a shift in a belief or a change in a behavior or a habit, something that you've been doing lifelong, like, oh, maybe I forgot to do the habit this day because I was focused on something else, or, that's when we know, hey, there's a shift in our brain chemistry, a change going on there that is visible, and that's how we can kind of quantify it to our clients.
Well, there's another little problem that we have with EFT too. It changes the brain to such an extent when we are successful that people forget how bad it was because they are so, I guess, transformed. I mean, some issues wouldn't be that way, but a lot of the things that people come really stressed about, an emotional thing, can just kind of dissolve. And so we have to take good notes to come back and say, well, you were a 10, 2 weeks ago on this, and now you're like, so what? It's a 0.
It doesn't even matter anymore.
Yeah.
So it's all about, as a practitioner, being a good detective, figuring out where those things are hiding, because some of these things are very sneaky. Like, things will hide underneath other things and they don't want to come out. And sometimes there'll be an aha moment in a session where you go, well, that makes total sense. And I feel like those things come up when they're meant to come up in a session. It kind of, some people aren't comfortable even talking about what the thing is in a first session. And I would never, as practitioners, we don't push for any information. It's whenever we're holding this space for you, whenever you're comfortable to talk about that, then it will come up. But we're, in the meantime, like Betsy said, we're getting kind of these aspects taken care of. And Gary Craig talks about it as a tabletop. So there's this table with 4 legs. And as a practitioner, you're trying to knock out those legs, which are the aspects of the main reason of this problem, this thing that's going on with you. And when we knock out all those aspects, like we're trained to do, that tabletop will fall and that thing just disappears.
Yeah. And it's pretty neat when it happens. But, we're all works in progress. I work with a lot of high functioning people who, maybe some of them have never had that big T trauma in their life. But we've all just been through a pandemic. I would say all of us are a little more traumatized than we were a few years ago. But, I think EFT is a skill set that you use for your entire life. You use it as a parent, you use it in the workplace, you use it with relationships with your family, you use it when you're trying to get your taxes done.
Yeah.
Like all these things. And then, all of us are going to face death someday. We are probably all of us going to be exposed to some sort of health crisis, either our own or somebody we love. And I just think it's our responsibility to have tools to take care of ourselves, and also how quickly it works. There are all these drugs out there and medicines, and we can make appointments and stuff, but if you know how to do tapping, it's first aid for some of the worst things that can happen to you. Even as you're waiting to get into the regular medical system, you can feel better.
Yep.
And that is, I've used it for so many things, and for my pets, and
I know it's limitless. And that was one of my questions as well, that people continue to ask me, do I have to tap forever on something? So once my clients that have hair pulling disorder, trichotillomania, are done, don't have these urges, they just disappear. And the hardest part about that habit actually is the automatic response of our body to have our hand go to our head. That's even harder to stop than the actual urge. So with my clients, the urge will disappear first, which is what happened with me as well. And then, I don't know, you're kind of fighting for a longer time on this kind of impulse to put your hand up to your head. But, at that point, after the urge goes away, your hand's up to your head and your eyelashes or your brows, and you're going, I don't even do this anymore. This is so silly. Why my hand's even up here? Like, I can't believe how many times I even put my hand up to my head during the day. So, it kind of just disappears after that. But you do not have to I don't tap about hair pulling anymore, because once it's gone, it's gone. So then a lot of my clients will think that they don't need tapping anymore at all. And then I'll say, no, you use tapping now for whatever else comes up in your life, whatever anxieties, whatever hard things, whatever you want to manifest, anything else it's useful for. But, we don't have to tap forever on something once we are able to get to the bottom of where the stuck energy is and what is causing it. I mean, would you agree?
Yeah, I think, if a problem is persisting, you want to do a little bit of tapping, you want to stay on it. But if you don't have problems, I often use tapping to just prepare myself for the unknown, to get going, like before a podcast, or if I'm expecting a difficult conversation or something before it happens, or just for my health too. Just, there's so many ways you can use it for positive. Just thinking about if you have to make a difficult decision, tapping before you make a decision, highly recommend it. What is that? Because don't you want your brain to be functioning at optimal? Your intuition works much better when you're not under stress too. And I think our intuition serves us well, or our heart guidance, I should say, to allow the heart guidance to work no matter what's going on. Never make a decision when you're under intense stress. And, people try to make us make those decisions under intense stress.
But I think that once you get in the habit of doing it, it's something that you crave to do. I mean, oh, well, I can just tap for this. I can just tap one point. I can tap all the points. I don't have to do a setup statement. Even if you just tap one of those points, even if you just hold and breathe, your cortisol level will go down automatically. And Betsy's probably the same. We've tapped so much that I start yawning when I start tapping, because my brain is so trained to relax. But another example of how I use it daily are, I tap daily for anything that comes up. Oh, I'm stuck in traffic. This is annoying. I'm at a red light here and I'm tapping, or I'm traveling on Monday. I'm going to a podcast conference in Nashville. So I tap every time the night before I have to travel, because I want to have the best travel experience. I don't want any lines. I'm going to tap to manifest no lines. I'm going to tap to manifest to sit next to the exact right person. I'm going to tap to manifest there's no turbulence, that it's a nice day, that I get to my destination on time, that there aren't any delays. I mean, I have done that every single time I've traveled since I've learned of tapping, and I haven't had a bad travel experience, knock on wood, since then.
That's good. And travel is an exceptional reason to have this tapping tool on board. Even
Yeah.
if you're skeptical, it can make travel so much more pleasant. I agree.
Yeah. So what are some things that people can tap for if they're just
Yeah.
curious to know if it works?
So I think, allergy symptoms came to mind right away. If you're having
Mm,
breathing, if you're stuffed up, if you're having congestion in your head, I would try some tapping on that. That would be an easy thing. If you're having any kind of physical distress, a headache, a toothache, and you can't get to the dentist until the next day, you might want to try tapping.
mhm,
It can't hurt. That's what's interesting. And normally, you'll find that your awareness of the discomfort will go way down. And it's
mhm.
because your body's relaxing. When your body is holding a little less tension, I think you get this relief that you don't expect. And you don't have to believe it's going to happen. But, 2 to 5 minutes of tapping and having something effective that quickly, you can go take your aspirin afterward or your ibuprofen or something, but it'll be faster, most likely, than taking a pill.
Yes, I
Yeah.
agree. And a little personal story that I haven't told anyone, actually.
Mhm.
I have had asthma since I was a little girl. I've Since I was 25 years old, I've taken an inhaler twice a day, two
Mm,
puffs twice a day. This is a just an inhaler that is preventative. And when I was pregnant with both my boys, my asthma was exacerbated by tenfold. I had to be on the nebulizer every 4 hours. I had to sit at a 45-degree incline. I mean, my lungs were constricted because I'm a 5'1" person, tiny person with this huge belly at that point. It was so scary. And it's just scary to not be able to breathe in
mhm,
general. And
mhm.
I never in my life thought I won't need this inhaler, okay, every day. And it's an expensive inhaler. It's not cheap. So my doctor, my primary care physician, has been kind of poking me a little bit, saying, I really want you to try to go down to one puff, twice a day and see how you do. And I had an allergist for years and years until he retired. And now I just see my general practitioner for this. But I was so worried to do it. And I tapped about it and tapped about it. And when I went on a trip to Florida in March, early March, I forgot to take my inhaler. I was having such a good time with my aunt and uncle in Naples, and I forgot to take it one night. And then I thought, I even tapped about it because it made me nervous. What if I have what if I have a asthma attack in the middle of the night? What if I die and I'm out of town and I can't see my kids, And what if I'm in the hospital in a different state?
Uh,
And my insurance doesn't work, something like that. And I got over it so quickly, the thought of, I don't have to even take this, that I forgot about it for the rest of the 4 days I was there. And then when I came home, my actual rescue inhaler was in my purse. And I was too lazy to go get it every night to take it before bed or to take it in the morning. I just
mhm,
forgot to do it. And
mhm.
I haven't had an episode or a problem since. Isn't
Good.
that crazy? And I have tapped a couple different times for, I don't feel like I can breathe. I'm having a little bit of trouble breathing. And it's also springtime here. We're recording in April, and this is the worst time. This is when I would need my inhaler the most. So
Good.
for me to not have to take this, it's like mind blowing that
Yeah.
I could I don't know if I'm healed from it or what, but just the fact that I've tapped about it and not been upset and anxious or
Mhm.
given, I mean, I feel like sometimes that anxiety will give you the physical symptoms of not being
Right.
able to breathe. And
Yes.
when I'm thinking about that, Gary Craig did do one of the very first things, and I know people were using it during COVID, was
The constricted
the
breathing.
constricted
Yeah.
breathing. Yeah. And I'm wondering maybe we could do a little bit of that if you want to lead
Yeah.
us in that. I
It's
think
a
that'd be
great
great.
demonstration, and it's good for skeptics. It's good for groups, when you're trying to work with people and just give them an experience of EFT.
Yeah, and this is helpful if you're in the middle of a panic attack or something, because
Mhm.
that's one of the things that happens where you'll get short of breath. If, like
Mhm.
Betsy said, if you've got some allergies going on right now and you're kind of stuffed up or wheezy or whatever, let's let Betsy lead us in this little experience.
Okay, so you begin this experience by just taking a few nice full deep breaths. So we're trying to expand your lungs as part of the experiment. And now on this next breath, I want you to notice how full you can get your lungs or how constricted it feels. Maybe we're measuring whether you're getting 100% of your lungs filled or less. Okay, so just take a full deep breath and just notice on that scale to 0 to 100. Do you think you're getting 100% lung capacity, or are you a little bit lower? So we're going to use that as the measurement. So anything under 100 means you have a little constriction. Okay. So people with allergies probably definitely don't feel that 100 today. That's totally okay. That's just the way it is. All right. So we're going to do tapping and then we'll check. So Liz, where were you at? Just can
Okay,
you share?
so I'm 90% right now,
Okay.
and I feel a tiny bit constricted. I mean, like I had to do a double inhale at that very
Yeah.
when my lungs were at full capacity there to get, there's a little bit.
Okay. So let's just start with that. We'll use pretty simple language. Even though my breathing's constricted,
Even though my breathing's constricted,
I accept myself anyway.
I accept myself anyway.
Even though my breathing's constricted,
Even though my breathing is constricted,
and it's allergy season too.
and it's allergy season too.
I accept the way my body is behaving today.
I accept the way my body is behaving today,
And I'm open to breathing more easily,
and I'm open to breathing more easily,
even though my breathing is constricted.
even though my breathing is constricted.
I deeply and completely accept myself.
I deeply and completely accept myself,
And it's safe to breathe more deeply.
and it's safe to breathe more deeply,
And it's healthy for me too.
and it's healthy for me too.
Okay, go to the top of the head. Constricted breathing.
Constricted breathing.
And eyebrow point. It's allergy season.
It's allergy season.
I expect constricted breathing.
I expect constricted breathing.
Side of the eyes. Constricted breathing is a common problem.
Constricted breathing is a common problem.
Had it before.
I've had it before.
And under the eyes, this constricted breathing.
This constricted breathing.
And under the nose, the way it feels when I have constricted breathing.
The way it feels when I have constricted breathing.
And under the lower lip, all my fears about constricted breathing.
All my fears about constricted breathing.
And collarbone point. And all my memories of constricted breathing.
And all my memories of constricted breathing.
Under the arm. And everything I believe about constricted breathing.
Everything I believe about constricted breathing.
All right, and do a little stretch. And then I'll invite you to take a nice full deep breath through your nose. And exhale fully. So was it easier? Are you up from 90?
Oh yeah, I'm up from 90. I mean, I'd say it's like 98. And it was actually easier during the tapping. I could feel an opening in my chest. It was almost, I don't know, it just felt like I could feel those airways just opening wide, and to get that breath, that the rest of that breath that I needed, that 10%.
Yeah. So I gave us prompts, words to help us focus on kind of the negative state, which we don't want to use affirmations necessarily about this. We're just putting our focus on the different aspects that might be involved in constricted breathing. you could do it as simply as just say constricted breathing on each of the points too. I get bored saying the same thing. So.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So I hope all of our listeners were able to feel a little bit of a difference there. And if you didn't, you just keep going
Right.
and tap until you can get that full breath.
Yeah. Very good. Oh, my dog's starting to growl at something. I hope.
Oh no, a little dog on our episode today. So, Betsy, let's talk for a minute about examples of client experiences that stand out to you, because I've mentioned many of mine specifically with hair pulling, but tell me a couple client experiences that really, I can cut this out if you need to get your dog. Okay, it's fine.
Mhm. Sorry about that.
No worries. No worries. It's
Delivery
that's what
person at
editing is for.
the door.
So,
Okay.
so can you just give us a few examples of some of the client experiences that you've had that stand out to you?
All right. One, it's interesting. I was thinking about this and I got in touch with this person today, or she called me today. I didn't talk with her, but she left a message. And I thought, isn't that funny when you think of people?
Yes.
This was a young mother that I met through business networking, who single mom, who had a very stressful life, was really working hard to hold it all together. And we worked together on something very traumatic from her past using tapping, and very good results. From there, she she was having some financial problems, and she really wanted to change her work and her job and everything. Working with her, I um, I helped her think bigger, I think, or helped her think about possibilities. She ended up applying for a job, totally new field. Um, she got the job. I helped her interview for the job by using EFT, to
Mhm.
prepare, to be
Mhm.
confident, to talk about herself. Um, I helped her negotiate when they offered her the job. So
Wow.
we did tapping on that. The job required relocation with her and her child. And, there were issues involved at that. So I helped her handle that part of it. And she has since made multiple career changes. She's still a single mom, but they're doing incredibly well. Yeah. So there are challenges, but at the same time, I think she's been able to handle the emotional uh, ups and downs. Oh, my dog's making noise again. Oh, Serena, no, come here. Come here. Come here. You gotta be quiet. You gotta be quiet. I'm sorry. I don't know.
No, it's fine. Editing is on our side. It's not a big deal. So, so that particular client, I think it's pretty interesting that you would think of her and then she kind of reached out because, that happens too when we work with clients that they're good for a long time and then they need a refresher or something and they'll call us or reach out, or there's something else comes up that they want help working through. So that could be why she reached out to you, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. And it's been
Yeah.
a while too. So I always love hearing from her. But that's interesting. I've helped a lot of people with job change, interviews, confidence, weight loss, um, getting over, well, grief is another one that comes up so often.
Mhm.
And anxiety. I mean, I know you work with that too.
Mhm.
Another one that I think of that was so powerful during COVID, a licensed professional, a licensed mental health professional
Uh-huh.
calls me in crisis, because she's just barely holding it together during COVID. And we talked, and I said, maybe you want to take the training. And it's not really therapy, but this is a way to really quickly learn how EFT works, to practice with other professionals in a safe place on Zoom. And she took the training. She ended up becoming certified. And, I think during certification, she broke her arm. She moved. I mean, she had to downsize she moved to a new place. I mean, she had this tool to hold it together.
But yeah, I was going to say, so all these traumatic things happened, but she still was able to get through it,
Yeah.
probably because she had tapping.
Yeah. And even now, I mean, she doesn't see that many clients, but the ones she does see, she loves it. And I just think she's created a life for herself where she uses her tapping for her personal use, but also has a small practice on top of it too.
Yeah. And our goal as practitioners is not to keep you for years of your life. The people that I work with, these addictions are so hard to get over. Like I had this for 36 years. So I am not surprised that it takes people a long time when it comes to a severe addiction. But the clients that I see for other things, they're quick. I mean, it's like panic attacks, emetophobia, which is the fear of throwing up, any type of phobias. Those are like quick, and we don't want to, waste your money or your time. We're here to get you going and through whatever you're going through quickly, and then teach you how to do it so that you don't always have to call us. And like, I still use practitioners when I have issues that I want to work through. I'll call one of my practitioner colleagues and say, hey, I can't get specific enough about this with myself. Can you help me? So, we always all have something that we're working through. And I love to hear about the positive experiences and there are so many. I mean, just seeing people in person or via Zoom, the stuff that goes on, just the energy exchange during these sessions is something that you can't even explain. I mean, Betsy and I know it very well. I mean, you see people's bodies change, their facial expression, like you can see them release things in front of you. And, it's once you try it, you can't stop doing it. So, which is what we hope for everyone.
A healthy addiction.
Yes, it's a healthy addiction. It's great. So, anyway, I think that before we wrap up today, Betsy, I'd like to share with our listeners any offerings that you have or how they can find you, because I know you always have such cool things going on.
Well, the best place to find me is betsymuller.com. I do teach practitioner trainings several times a yeyear. So I don't know when this is going to air, probably.
This should be episode 1. So, early May 6th.
Okay. Because, it'll be after my next scheduled training.
Okay.
It'll probably be one in August or September. But in the meantime, I have students that are always looking for people that might be interested in working with them. I do a free tapping group on Mondays at 1:00 Eastern time, and that's open to anybody who might want to come in. I'm adding an evening one once a month. This will be called Tapping for Calm Evenings. And I think my first one, there'll be one in May. I guess the best place to go is to my website, to my events page, and take a look at that.
Okay.
And if you're with an organization, so I've had a lot of experience working with companies and workplaces. I really like the opportunity to work with groups, maybe nonprofits. So, I saw a statistic just this week from our friend Shauna. Did you know that 63% of US workers are ready to quit their jobs today due to stress?
Oh my gosh.
I don't know where they got that. I don't know what the source of.
I believe that though, because I mean, you and I both worked in stressful job situations, and I would have killed to be able to quit.
So anyway, and the cost of this is like $15,000 per employee per year of mental health related costs, whether it's absenteeism or just not being present, mistakes on the job, and then the actual healthcare costs. I mean, so, I in the bigger picture, I like to be able to work with people in the workplace. I do speaking too, and I've been asked to do a lot more presentations for, corporate groups and nonprofits, or to help educate the people that are already therapists to integrate EFT with their therapy work, because they'll get faster results. Plus, they get the benefit of working on their own stress by adding the EFT tapping to their work. So if anybody out there has an employer or is curious about bringing in a training, Zoom or in person, I'm happy to talk with them and explore that.
Excellent. That is such great news that you are available to do that. And I hope people take you up on it here in the Cleveland area or beyond, if you're even interested in doing it with a corporation that is not local. Zoom is our best friend. And so with that, all of that information about Betsy and her current offerings are going to be available in the show notes at the end of the show. And I hope that Betsy has helped today answer some of the questions that I have received over the last 6 months from listeners wanting to know why EFT works. And I'd like to thank Betsy so much for being here today and sharing her knowledge with our listeners. And just a reminder, if you'd like to work with me, you can schedule a free discovery call on my website, tapintohealth.net. Or if you're ready to start right now, you can visit my online store and download pre-recorded mini sessions. Thank you so much for being here today, Betsy.
My pleasure. Thank you, Liz.
Thanks for listening today, and we'll see you next time. Until then, keep tapping.
Yay, keep